Hello, you are now with Jessica Jane on Thursday, December 27th, 2016 in the lovely British Columbia. In today's episode of The Big Mess That Is Stress, we will be once again discussing how chronic stress affects our health. Contrarily to our first episode, where we aimed our talk towards mental health, we will now be diving into how stress can affect our bodies physically. Now, how can it be possible that something psychological can have physical effects? That can't be right, can it? Well, stay with us and you will learn that this little fact can be all too true. In this episode, we will first discuss how stress can affect our immune systems, and we'll look into some other sorts of effects that chronic stress can have on the body as well. Finally, I will be interviewing another special guest, and we will discuss some statistics and factors concerning stress. To begin, what exactly is it that our immune system does? Well, the primary function of our immune system is to protect our bodies from diseases. But what does that have to do with stress? I won't go into too much scientific detail, but stress itself can essentially weaken the immune system, making it more difficult to fight off diseases. So in turn, you can actually become sick. Although technically, you wouldn't be sick from stress directly. It's the stress that is weakening your immune system so that you are no longer capable of fighting off certain illnesses that you could before. This doesn't necessarily mean that you will become ill from stressing over that final exam. Researchers say that a little bit of stress is healthy as it keeps you focused. Therefore, there is no need to worry about small doses of stress, as it is perfectly normal and good for you. Next, we will see what other effects chronic stress can have on the body. There are so many effects that stress can have on the body, in fact, it would be quite impossible to list them all in the limited time we have, so I'll only name a few. In addition to weakening the immune system, studies show that excessive stress can increase heart rate and blood pressure, although that is probably no surprise. I mean, haven't you ever noticed that your heart beats much quicker when you feel nervous or under pressure? Another common symptom that can result from stress is the formation of ulcers. Ulcers are sores on the surface of the body due to skin breaking. Again, these are fairly common symptoms caused by stress, and as long as they don't progressively get worse and worse, there isn't much reason to stress over them too much. For our last segment today, I've invited Emma, and we will be discussing some of the main factors of stress as well as some statistics. How are you doing today, Emma?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. In this podcast, we have discussed the physical effects of chronic stress. Researchers show that roughly 43% of adults today suffer from negative health effects due to stress. Does this surprise you? Why or why not?
No, that number does not surprise me at all. If anything, it's lower than what I would have predicted. I believe that everyone has reasons for being stressed, and with that stress comes the effects. Therefore, I think that number is quite accurate.
I agree. Seeing how much stress people are put under on a daily basis, that number makes sense to me as well. What do you think about stress being related to some of the leading causes of death, such as heart disease and cancer?
Well, from listening to your earlier segments, I can see how stress can be linked to these illnesses. It is still concerning nonetheless, and I don't think most people realize just how serious chronic stress really is.
I think you're absolutely right. Most don't understand what chronic stress can be doing to their bodies. For my final question, what factors do you think relate to stress the most?
Well, from what I've read, some big factors of stress include the quality of one's social life and relationships, physical well-being such as diet and exercise, as well as something as little as just noticing when you're too stressed out. If we can find a way to balance all of those things, perhaps stress will eventually become less of a health concern in the future.
Thank you, Emma. It seems as though that's all for today. Thank you for listening in on this episode of The Big Mess That Is Stress. Once again, I encourage all of my listeners to really think about what we discussed today, and to remember how serious chronic stress can truly be if ignored. Please, take time to relax and take care of yourself to stay in both a healthy physical and mental state. Thanks again for listening in.